Today on the Matt and Ann Show, we got WWE Women's Legend, Candice Michelle. Welcome to the show, Candice.
Yay! Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we want to start with, how did you get your start in wrestling?
Well, my agent calls me. I was living in California, and he asked, and he really downplayed it too for this audition. He was like, you know, the WWE, it's gonna have a contest, but he was more excited about the prize money. It's like the winner will get $100,000 in a 1-year contract, because he, of course, is gonna get 10% of, you know, whoever wins. So he's excited about that. But I'll never forget that moment, because I grew up on wrestling. You know, I watched it every Monday night. I had the Hulk Hogan doll instead of Barbie dolls. I went to the shows. And then there was that gap, you know, of me moving to California and starting my life where I never watched it. And so when that call came in, I was like, whoa, can I actually be a wrestler? Like, I didn't know there was such a thing as a wrestling school and a journey to, you know, be a superstar. And so it was a big moment for me, and I was so excited about that.
So did you ever have plans before that? Like, did it ever come to mind to be a wrestler, or was it that moment your agent called that you're like, okay, I might actually do this?
It was really that moment, because when I watched, they were like superstars. You know, it's like watching, almost like watching your favorite cartoon, right? Like, you can't really be Batman and you can't really be Superwoman. You know, like, those are like just above and beyond. Like, I didn't realize that. And so it came full circle for me at that moment.
You said that you would grow up watching Raw. Do you have a favorite wrestler?
Yes. Well, Hulk Hogan for sure was my favorite. I loved Ric Flair back then, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts. But one of my favorite moments that I'll never forget is my first show that we went to at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee. And we had seats on the entranceway. And so out comes stomping the Bushwhackers, you know, with their big gimmick.
Yeah.
And they stopped next to me. And it was just that surreal moment of like, I don't even know what to do. Like, they're right here. And I remember I raised my hand and they high-fived me. And so it was just that moment of like, you know, I did a TED talk about this, but for real, it's like they tagged me into their world. Like, I didn't know it then. I just knew the feeling, you know. You don't know what that means until, you know, you grow up and you look back and you like, you know, analyze that situation in that time. You're like, wow, it was really a special moment.
Absolutely. Early on in your WWE career, you did the GoDaddy.com Super Bowl commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that pushed you to the next atmosphere, basically, with your career. How did that all happen?
You know, for me, it was the same thing that I was doing out here. I was auditioning, and I got that audition. And the crazy part about that audition is, you know, so many years ago, but it was a Skype audition, kind of like what we're doing now. But it was the first time I'd ever done it. It was unheard of to do. The producer was over in England that was, you know, doing this audition, and he had to get the stuff done. And so getting the call back that you land a national commercial, it's so exciting. And like you said, WWE is so good with using your personal life to bring it in the ring and create storylines and to launch you into other things. And that's exactly what they did.
Absolutely.
You were after a 24/7 champion. Yeah, what was that experience like?
I didn't get the whole question. I got, what was that experience like? But
last year you won the 24/7 title.
Oh, yeah.
How did that opportunity arise to win the 24/7 championship?
Well, when I got invited to come back for that day, I mean, I'm always excited. I love the company. I love wrestling. I love my friends and the people that put on the show that are still there. So I looked at it as just an opportunity to go have some fun. Yeah. Because a lot of times when you go to these shows, there's so many legends, and you're lucky if you're in a pre-tape with a bunch of people and you say nothing, you know? So I don't get my hopes up for too much. And so when they said I was gonna win that, it was so awesome, because people haven't seen the work I've done the last decade, right? I'm not in the front of the camera for the last decade. It's all the work behind the scenes of who I'm becoming, how I'm becoming a coach, how I'm creating programs, how I'm helping serve others. And so when I got that title, just that name in itself was like that moment of recognition for me inside. Like, wow, when you work and you train 24/7, like that's part of my rituals every day and my standards and my values. And that title just symbolized who I was and who I am now. And so it was really an honor for me.
Do you think that your title, in a way, made you stronger to say, like, because you won the title at that moment, and you think that you became a whole new woman, for example?
Yeah, like you won the women's title before, now you're 24/7. Do you think that cemented your legacy in wrestling?
I don't think you're ever cemented in wrestling. Lately on the internet, people are like, oh, why weren't you at the Royal Rumble? They promoted you. And the truth is, there's so many times I don't make the cut still, and nothing really gives you that entitlement. I just always feel like I got to keep working. I'm not working enough if they didn't invite me. Maybe I'm not in the public eye enough. Maybe they had a different theme for that show, And so I don't take it personal, but I do take it personal in a way of like, I got more to prove. And not to you guys or anybody else out there, but to myself, me achieving my next goal. And I think when you just do what you love, they end up recognizing you. And when that happens, that happens.
You were saying about like basically thinking you have to work harder. Have you ever considered going back to like WWE? I know AEW's around right now. TNA/Impact's been around for a while. Have you ever thought about one last run there, making one last run in wrestling, or is that behind you at this point?
Oh, I never say never to wrestling. It's more of a timing thing and the commitment factor. I have 3 little girls at home and they're getting older now. So, about 5 years ago, that wasn't really an option. I wouldn't go traveling on the world too much away from them. Yeah. Now things are getting older, they're more, self-sufficient. I have some help. And so, it would be a really cool opportunity to go back and do another run. And, I'm pretty sure I can take a good ass kicking.
Well, if you had the opportunity to do that, what company would you want to be a part of?
Yeah, so I've always been loyal to WWE. I mean, it's true. I love them. I like to be the best, and I like to work for the best. However, AEW is really coming up in the ranks. They're really showing up, and I love when there's these other companies because it just pushes each other to be better and be the best, right? When you have competition, you got to fight harder to be the best. So for me, it's just about the opportunity that would be right for me, the role that would be right for me, and the commitment that would be right for me. So I'd be open to either.
Did you have a favorite match during your career?
Yes. Ironically, my favorite match is kind of the one when I got knocked out, the 2 out of 3 falls count with Beth Phoenix. Yeah. And because it was a point in our career and that night where the crowd is finally behind me, like they're finally supporting me, finally accepting me. I think it was like a semi-main event, which the women at that time never got. So we were getting more time finally. It was a real match. It was a real storyline that was just so passionate. We were both passionate about. And it's unfortunate it ended that way, but it also was destined for me to move on at that point, and I never would have left wrestling at that time. I loved it. I was just getting to really get into the meat of it, really feel it, really connect with people. And so it was devastating for it to be taken away, but it did give me that opportunity to go on and hold my favorite title of being a mother. So a blessing in disguise for sure.
And definitely during that era, a lot of the Diva Search girls, like it felt like they didn't take it seriously some of the time, but you were like the first one where like you were putting on great matches during that era.
Thank you.
And I'll never forget when you faced Melina at, I think it was Night of Champions. That was one of the best matches during that era I've ever saw.
Thank you. And yeah, I think the difference is for me when I signed on, like they were hiring me for eye candy, you know, was this whole thing they said, we're here to pretty up the business was their quote on what they would tell everybody. But for me, it was different because of my background and because of what I wanted. So as I was signing on that dotted line, for me, it was, okay, I'm going to be the next champion. Yeah. And it took me years to get there, right? But I was willing to do the work. I was willing to do the sacrifice. I was willing to go to the arenas and the house shows 2 hours early. And I started to train with the refs. And the refs were the ones that started to teach me. And I didn't have that opportunity to go to a wrestling school. I was never taught to bump. I was never taught a move. You know, I remember a funny story emailing Stephanie McMahon. And I had names of my moves without having moves. I was like, you know, now when I got more into it, I was like, wow, I could just see them laughing at me, you know, behind my back because I just had no idea. But what she saw in me was that I was willing to try. I was willing to be laughed at. I was willing to fail. I was willing to botch moves. I was willing to do all that to become great at what I wanted.
Who had that early impact on your career? Was there anyone in the locker room that impacted you to get on the next level?
Well, definitely Melina. And unfortunately, it wasn't in the positive way, but it pushed me. You know, we had a rival and she hated the fact that I was coming from Hollywood and she, you know, she came up on the independent scene and going to the wrestling schools and training that way. So from her point of view, it looked as though, oh, I'm just, you know, thrown on TV just because I'm cute, you know, and she's done all this hard work. Yeah. But in reality, my hard work was done a different way, right? And then it continued through there. But our rivalry and the difficultness of putting together a match with somebody that doesn't respect you, doesn't think you should be there, it really brings out the grit in you. You know, you're like, absolutely. I mean, I remember one day we were going to wrestle and I thought for sure we're going to have a shoot match. Like, this is like, all right, I don't know what's happening, but we're fighting. Like, legit, I had no idea. And we put on a great match. By the time we get out there, it was pulled together and, you know, ended up being a great match. But afterwards, I was like, I remember having the opportunity to thank her because it pushed me so hard. I had to work so much harder, even though I hated so many of those moments make you grow. It makes you be creative. It makes you learn faster. And that's exactly what it did for me.
And you early in your career, that you have a time where you felt like you couldn't do it?
Early in my career, did I feel like what?
Was there ever a time you felt like you wanted to give up? Yeah. And then what was the moment that turned that around for you?
Yeah, actually there is a moment. I remember being backstage and for months they hadn't used me. Like I wasn't in a pre-tape, I wasn't in a match, and you know, I'm training behind the scenes, I'm going to the house shows early, and I just couldn't get recognized. And I just remember having my stuff in that suitcase, looking at it like, you know what? I'd rather be worked so hard than be sitting here getting paid to do nothing. Like that was the worst feeling for me. And I remember going up to Stephanie and be like, you guys got to use me. Like I'm doing nothing. Like you're paying me to do nothing. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with just sitting back here. It's not like I had to be used every time, but you know, it wasn't my moment. But after that, things started to pick up, thankfully. But I'm not one of those people that like to sit on the sidelines. You know, I want to be in the action, especially, you know, when I'm committed to a job and traveling and training and all that stuff. So that was a hard moment for me to overcome.
Well, would that be, you know, if somebody let you know, what would you say to a person that was maybe in your position or when you become to be in your position, what would be your message that you would leave with them?
I didn't understand that question. Can you help me out?
Like someone that was in your position, what would you say to them now? Like if a girl's in the locker room, like being like, why am I being used? Am I ever going to get used? Is it going to get better? What would you say to them right now, knowing what they went through at that current moment? And it can
thank you. I think it's about perseverance, right? Like you can't just be like, I quit, I'm done, right? It doesn't work that way. Like, and I always tell people the only way you don't achieve your dreams or your goals is if you give up on them, right? That's the only way. And so giving up isn't the option, but it doesn't mean you can't stand up for yourself and have standards for yourself, you know, like letting them know, like being brave to knock on Vince's door or Steph or Hunter's door, you know, whoever's running it now, and be like, hey, I got this, this, and this, and come prepared, you know, put together a storyline, put together where you fit in so they can see an option, because they've got so many superstars they're working on. Sometimes you just, you know, fall to the wayside. It's not even like meant like they're doing it to be mean. It's just like you're not captivating their attention. And take care of yourself, learn your craft, you know, get to the ring early. We'd be working out in the stands, you know, we'd be getting in the ring. Even if I didn't have a match, I tried to get in there before they had to go over their matches. You know, do stuff that gets you noticed for your hard work, because Vince is that kind of person that always notices when you're putting in the effort, you know, when you're over delivering on yourself. So then he's like, all right, let's give her a chance. And that's exactly what happened for me.
You were talking about that you're into coaching now. Could we see you ever be a guest coach at the Performance Center? And two, can you tell us about your 21-day challenge?
Yeah, so my coaching isn't wrestling coaching, but I would love to be part of that Performance Center, because as we know, so much of professional wrestling is the character development. You know, it's the perseverance. It's all of the mind games that you got to play with yourself and be prepared for that. And so I wouldn't be good at trying to show you a new move or put together the philosophy of wrestling match, but the mindset of that and helping you develop your character, I'd be phenomenal at. And from that, I've created my 21-day champ challenge. It's, you know, it's got a little bit of wrestling based in it, but it's 21 stories about myself so that you can learn new tools on gaining new habits, good habits. I'm not that kind of person where it's like, oh, don't eat this or don't drink this or take this away. Nobody wants things taken away. I'm the kind of person like, let's add something good, because then the bad stuff will just kind of fall off. Yeah. And so I just take people on that journey with me to really acknowledge that their dreams can be really big, but the little things compound. And so this 21 days, I give it to you for a whole year. It's $21, but you can use it for a whole year. So if you gain 12 new habits, like if you start in January or you start now and gain another 6 or 7 habits that are good, will your life change by the end of the year? Yeah, you know, for sure. Will you be a different person? Yes. Will you be closer to achieving your dreams? Yes. And so it's just a tool where it can say, hey, don't, you know, when you're a kid, you have a dream, and then we grow up and life happens, or life happens to us as we grow up, right? Yeah. You know, maybe you don't get the best family or the best card dealt to you, but how can you use that and make it the best for you? Because it's your gift, you know? And so that's what the program's about.
And where can fans that are listening to this find out more about that?
So you can go to CandiceMichelle.com to find out about it. But my husband and I also just created a YouTube channel called The Good Champs. And what I love about this is so many of my fans and the champs out there that follow me, they don't know that side of me. And so this is an opportunity for them to see for free, like just see what it is we do, what we preach, what are our ritual standards and values, and how can I help serve you? And so it's a free show for people to come on there and just, you know, in this time of a pandemic, like how can we be creative? How can we lower those suicide numbers? You know, so many people are worried about COVID numbers, but suicide's at the all-time high. You know, how can we feel happy under these times? And how can we still go for our dreams during this time? So it's a great show, and I hope people will tune into it.
That's absolutely awesome. I want to thank you for coming on the show today. It's been an absolute honor. And you have anything you want to say?
I just want to thank you for everything that you've done and everything you will do. I wish you more success on anything that you're doing. Like we really appreciate you getting on our show, and I hope all the success you have. And good luck with everything that you got going on.
Thank you, and good luck to you guys too. Thank you for the opportunity to have me on. Stay safe out there and keep blessing up.
Definitely. Everybody go check CandiceMichelle.com.
Bye, honey, guys. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Have a good one.